transfer from high school life to university life in an online mode? Number 7, how can we bridge the economic gap which has led to several students, as mentioned before, dropping out of school at young ages? Now, can you move to the next slide? All right. So now the yellow hat, which is the positive and the pros of the digital education. Number 1, digital education allows us to access class lecture recordings even after the class is over, therefore making it easier to study in case somebody misses a class or wants more clarity on a topic. Number 2, the digital shift has cancelled internships and trainings for a lot of us, yet several organizations and companies are offering online internships. Therefore, we are able to gain work experience without having to travel to offices right from the comforts of our home. This reduces petrol costs, reduces pollution, and makes internships from across the world accessible to students. Number 3, familiarity with technology. With the digital shift, we are gaining a lot of knowledge about various apps and softwares, which will allow us to transition from student life to professional life when we set out to make our own careers. Number 4, and the last point, digital education is very beneficial for the environment. There is less usage of paper, thus we save time. We also save time, and because we are able to quickly access all information, and we're also learning how to do a lot of research work, as was discussed yesterday, the importance of research. Then the digital learning is providing us an effective way to cut our costs, maximize our resources, and heighten.
Sorry to cut you off, but your time is actually up now. That was 7 minutes that has already elapsed. Very sorry to cut you off, but since we are on a time constraint, we are going to move to a question and answer session. But before we go into that, I'm just going to quickly summarize what the presentation was.
I'm sorry to cut you. We have somebody speaking the solutions. It will just take 2 minutes.
I'm sorry, but the time is actually only 7 minutes. So perhaps if they could elaborate more during the discussion, or if somebody asks regarding those solutions, then that would be a good opportunity for that. So since we are on a time constraint, we do have to move on. So we're going to go into the question and answer session. We're going to go for 7 minutes. So if anybody has any questions for the education panel representatives, please raise your hand. All right, so 7 minutes of question and answer starts now. So first we have Miss Padma Priya from Mental Health. You could unmute yourself.
Hello, thank you for the recognition. The idea was wonderful from the education panel, but there are people during this pandemic situation who are below the poverty line. Then how can they get the access to digital education amidst of this pandemic situation?
All right, thank you so much for your question. To the education panel, if you would like to answer, any of the representatives, do go ahead. All right, Miss Dia, if you would like to answer.
So that was the question asked. It's a part of our solutions, and so I can give a point for that. So as you said that people who are underprivileged, they cannot afford even online education. Our solution to that was that just a second. Okay. Our solution to that was that the government and us as individuals, we can help to set up Wi-Fi in these areas where underprivileged people are mostly located. So to do so, the government can ask telecom services to reduce their costs, and us as individuals can contribute just a little amount per person. Even if I'm contributing 100 rupees, that's actually a big amount contributing to the monthly Wi-Fi services in the regions. So this way we can, by contributing even 100 rupees, we can actually contribute a lot to the Wi-Fi availability in these regions, and that's why underprivileged people will have access to internet services, which is ultimately the main problem we are facing in digital education.
Okay, thank you so much.
So, hello.
Oh, hello. Hi. Would you like to add?
Yeah. I'm actually I'm actually one of the representatives. So, like, I would just like to add one particular solution. So, in order to help bridge this digital divide, and like we are in an era of digital education, this is this advent and emergence where a lot of education is being taught online. And so in order for the underprivileged to not be left behind, we have come up with this idea of the establishment of community e-learning hubs. So these community learning hubs will be placed at various communities where there are students. So these students can go to these facilities, and these facilities will be replete with state-of-the-art technologies, where like the underprivileged students can have access to free computers, access to laptops, access to tablets or smartphones, and even free Wi-Fi for that matter. And these facilities are also include projectors for streaming online classes. Now, one of the merits of this facility is that along altogether with digital learning, it also enables the students to still have the ability and the opportunity to socialize, because we know that experiential learning is a very beneficial method of learning. So in order to not not dismiss the children of the opportunity to socialize with their friends and their peers, so that's why the establishment of these community e-learning hubs shall really put forward and not leave behind any underprivileged students in this era of digital education. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Since we are short on time, I will be moving on to the next question. If we could have maybe Mr. Sapti Kairula from the Youth Empowerment Panel. If you would like to ask your question, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for the recognitions. So basically, I want to ask, especially about the yellow hat solutions regarding how to implement it in all of the countries. Is it possible to implement both in the developed and developing countries, and what the reason to it? Thank you.
Okay, if anybody from the education panel would just like to answer, just go ahead.
Actually, I can answer. So the positive side of using this disease sticking hat that our panel provided is it applicable to even developed or non-developed countries. And since we don't have the time to entertain for the green hat, which is the solution, actually we already accommodate for all. Either it is for the developed or non-developed, and for the non-developed, we propose solutions such as establishment of community e-learning hubs, and so the improving the existing infrastructure of digital education, and also for the non-developed country, we also we also propose another solution. So it means that the using of stick sticking hat actually can help, even though it is for the developed or for the non-developed. It can be used for all circumstances actually.
All right, great. So I think I can entertain maybe one or two more questions. We have somebody from the technology panel, Mr. Maas. If you'd like to ask a question, go ahead.
Yeah. So I would like to ask this question that there is a certain few sections of studies like medicines and the research and development, which definitely requires a practical approach. So what could be done in that sector? Because our future depends on the people practicing those professions, and they have currently they are currently inaccessible to those practical resources. So what could be done about that so that they could have a better practical approach? They could get a better practical practice.
Okay, if anyone wants to answer, go ahead. Representatives of the education panel, if you would like to answer the question.
Can you repeat it, because I don't really understand what you're asking.
Okay, I'll rephrase it. I said that there are certain sectors of education, like the medicine, medical field, and the research and development field, where the practical uh, education is necessary. Like the students need to go to the labs, they need to go to the laboratories and practice what they are being taught. Then only they could be expected to be better professionals. But in this online system, there is no approach being made for that. So what would be the solution in that?
Okay, was that question understood?
Okay. Thank you very much. So actually, it's concluded in our one of solution in the green hat, which is we propose the solution to carry out mixed learning in certain areas. It means that to carry out a learning that combines face-to-face learning with online learning in areas where it's not possible to do that. For example, in areas with bad signals where many students have difficulty accessing the equipment. So it means that even though they can go to school every day, but they at least can have the day when they go to school, and then they can get the either health or the nutrition. So I think it's one of our solution is to carry out the mixed learning. So it doesn't have to be full online for certain places that need it. Is that answering your question, or do you want to answer more?
No follow-ups. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Since the question and answer time has elapsed, that would be the last question we are entertaining for the education panel. And so now I would just like to take the time to thank the representatives of the education panel. If everybody could give them like a big clap. You guys did a very good job. Now we're gonna move on to the next panel to present. So Mr. Fauzi, if you could spin the wheel again. All right, who will it be? Okay, was that digital economy, or do we have to respin it? Didn't quite see. Oh, okay, we have to spin it again. All right. There we go. All right. So next up, we have digital economy. So to the representatives of digital economy, if you could go ahead and do your presentation, and the facilitator will share the screen. All right, so we could see it popping up now. So to do representatives of digital economy, you have 7 minutes. Your time starts as soon as you start speaking.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
So the digital economy has brought so many new services which were not imaginable before. So our panel will be providing possible solutions that we can utilize the digital economy to help small, medium enterprises in order to recover from the effects of COVID-19. So one of the suggestions is that the Indonesian government should start teaching all the business owners the skills necessary to succeed in the digital economy. They can create a free portal, for example, whereby e-learning techniques, the citizens are properly educated and aware of the current techniques that are used, because people are not aware of how to use technology, how to use the social marketing, or a lot of other things. Now, they've got two choices to do this. They can either collaborate with educational institutes like universities that teach the education, that teach the information technology, or with technological companies that operates in the field of Internet of Things, cloud, or etc. And another suggestion is that governments need to provide a better vaccination strategy so that the whole of Indonesia is fully vaccinated, which will at least resume the domestic travels. Yes, we get it. Right now, Bali cannot be visited by foreigners at this moment, but that doesn't mean we cannot utilize the power of domestic travels. Of course, there will be restrictions and a lot of rules, but with the experiment of domestic travels, we can gain experience and learn from our mistakes, which will help us to even resume the international travels in Bali. For example, we might say, hey, we did this thing wrong in domestic travel, but we will correct it to the international travel that will be resumed later on. Of course, like my fellow members have mentioned, we need to keep an eye on the new type of the COVID, for example, the Delta version of the COVID, which is terribly, terribly bad thing. And the last suggestion that I wanted to give it is to learn from the history. Since the economical situation is similar to the 2008 financial crisis, the Indonesian government can take example from the past and provide the interest-free loans to the small and medium-sized enterprises so that they can survive the era of the pandemic. Thank you very much. These were the three suggestions that I wanted to provide. Next speaker and next slide, please.
Hello, everyone. Continuing from Sardar's point, few of the other suggestions that I would like to put in here. We see that the small and medium enterprises of Bali have been the major, they have got the major, they have been the major, they have been in the receiving end. They have. So the first responsibility here lies with the government. We see that any sector of a country is in deep trouble, the first prime responsibility goes on the shoulder of the government. So government in that regard, the authorities of Bali, they should need to devise a pro SMEs policies. Those policies could be in the form of free interest loans, providing them with advocacy, the platform of advocacy, and providing them with incentives, lucrative incentives, so that they can be in a position to lift themselves up from these terrible situation. And secondly, if we look that the SMEs should need to look for e-commerce platform. We see that Lazada and Shopee, these are famous and their users within in Bali is in millions. So other SMEs can take these two, like Lazada and Shopee platform as an example, as a role model for themselves to create their own websites, to create on their own e-commerce platform, or to market their products and services on these e-commerce platforms, so that they can generate revenue for themselves. Thirdly, apart from all these, there's another great need for advertising. We see that in Bali, social media apps, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, it's widely being used, and their users are in millions. So the SMEs can take this as an advantage. They can take maximum advantage out of it. They can put their services, their products, and all this stuff on these very platforms, so that maximum consumers, maximum buyers can attract themselves for all these products. So lastly, but not the least, the point that I would like to mention in here is we see that there is a growing hysteria among peoples, that most of the people are still of the view that once this pandemic will get over, things will start getting to be normal. So one thing here, it is important to keep in mind that it is the new normal. Like digital transformation, digital economy is the new normal. It is the new era that we must need to adapt ourselves to all those changes that are happening around the world. And same goes on with the owners of SMEs and the public of Bali. They should need to realize that digital transformation is the reality. It is not going to go away once the pandemic is over. It is going to stay, and the best way to deal with these kind of crisis issues is to get used to all these digital transformation, and to get themselves digitalized, so that they can sustain themselves, and they can generate revenue within Bali post-pandemic era. Thank you.
Oh, so please change the slide. Okay, so I am Mehak from India. I will continue from here and explain the further points and draw a conclusion. The government, it's not only the responsibility of government as well as the society as a whole to consider this technology. The only way for every industry to survive in this market is to go digital. So the tourism sector in the Bali has to go digital. The SME sector should use the digital platforms like Instagrams, Twitters, and every Telegram, every pattern to promote their culture. They should use this period of off time to make a higher jump. They can use this period and develop the infrastructures. The government should provide them assistance by using portals, by developing portals and conducting seminars and trainings to train the all the SME sectors about the digitalization. How can they take advantage? How can they they can take digital advertisement, digital marketing, digital sales. Also, Bali has a great handicraft industry. So the handicraft workmen can use this opportunity and promote their goods online. This will not only promote their culture, it will also increase their sales, draw more tourists to the Bali. So in short, I would like to draw a conclusion that Bali can promote its handicraft. Bali can not only promote its handicraft, but also increase its economy by using the tourism, by growing tourism. It can, of course, no one can travel in this COVID period, but it can prepare for the back end. It can use this period to develop its infrastructure, so that when the tourism is allowed, it can boost. And also the
All
digital economy.
right. Very sorry to cut you off, but your time has just elapsed. So that would be your time up for the presentation. So now without further ado, we're just going to move straight into the question and answer. We have 7 minutes. So if anybody has any questions, do go ahead and raise your hand and I will entertain them for you. So 7 minutes starts now. All right, we have the education panel. We have Miss Naria. If you would like to ask your question, go ahead.
Thank you so much for the amazing presentation from Digital Economic panel. I'm going to ask, what do you think, guys, the best solution, given that not all countries, or especially in Indonesia, that we all know sometimes or in certain region, the inequality of good internet access or the accessibility to purchase, for example, laptop or mobile phone is not equal for everyone. So how do you respond to that issue?
All right, if you could go ahead and answer.
Can I answer it?
Yes, go ahead.
So Naria, thank you so much for asking your question. So you see, like as I said, the biggest responsibility lies on the government. So in that way, I personally feel that the government have to the government should need to ensure that every sector of its society gets the benefit equally, so that if any unprivileged sector, if any unprivileged area is unable to get an internet access, government should need to facilitate those areas so that inclusiveness can be maintained. So I personally feel that it is the first of all the authorities government responsibility to ensure that internet access is being equally accessed by all parts in every areas of Bali. So that the major responsibility lies on government.
Great. If nobody would like to add, if that question, we're just gonna move straight to the next question. All right, there's quite a few people here. Okay, so we have from the education panel again, we have Mr. Kazi Tazwar. If you can ask your question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for choosing me, and it was a great presentation by the Digital Economy panel. My question basically was to the panel that what are the ways that government can implement to improve the privacy and the security issue in the digital economy, because we have seen that all over the world that in some places that the digital economy, that the money is transferred from one place to another without the user knowing about it. So how can the government see this issue? Thank you so much.
Okay, so I would like to reply to him.
Yes, go ahead.
So the government can teach the customers about the safety precautions, that they can teach the customers how can they can be scammed, how can their money be misused, and they can teach them about the securities that are available. The government can also coordinate with high technological firms and develop security payment systems, so that there are very less or minimal scams that happen with the money. So the combined effect of the system, improved system, as well as knowledge among the customers, both collectively can eliminate this problem. So the effort is needed from both of the points. So the government can develop and also can provide some seminars that can teach the that teach the customers how to use their money safely, how to go with digital payments and all. And nowadays, awareness is very much there amongst the people. And government is also playing its role in more educating them about this particular thing. Thank you.
Yeah, one more thing I wanted to add.
Yes,
so
go ahead.
About the security. So they can also utilize these third-party libraries and implement it in their own websites and mobile apps and all of the things that will utilize the digital transactions. So these third-party libraries are built by big technological companies, for example, like Google and Facebook. And since the Indonesia also uses Visa, there is already 100% secure environment to complete all of these transactions online, and there won't be any issue because those third-party libraries are so much battle tested. So there won't be any security issue in Indonesia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. We have about 2.5 minutes left, so I could probably entertain a few more questions. We have quite an overwhelming amount of people from the education panel about to ask questions. So maybe I must pick on somebody who is from another panel. We have somebody from mental health, Mr. Ilham. If you could answer your question. Sorry, if you could ask your question. Mr. Ilham, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, all righty.
Thank you for the opportunity. And I would like to ask to the digital economy panel. I'm from mental health panel. And as we know, I read the data from the Interpol that the cybercrime and cyber terrorism increased during COVID-19 because the using of media during COVID-19 is greatly increasing. And as we know, not all of country has good security, not especially developing country, less developing countries, and how the government maintain their security space. I mean, maintain their digital space because the cyber terrorism and cybercrime is greatly increasing during COVID-19. That's my question.
May I answer the question, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ilham, for this important question. It was really good question. The government of Indonesia already has the team that solely works on the purpose of creating safe environment for the citizens. So they're like anti-hackers, and they keep developing this anti-hackers. So they already have this thing. And on top of that, the government has like whole control of the internet. So all of the accesses, all of the requests, posts, gets, all of the responses goes through the government itself. So if they wanted to understand something, if they see some sort of like malicious attack, or if see something is going wrong in somewhere, they can easily interpret over there, because all of the request and response cycle of the internet goes through the government itself. So they pretty much can access anything that they want. Thank you.
One more point to add here. Like for government, they should need to realize that each government should need to include this like cybersecurity in their security agenda. They should securitize this element, this important aspect. Like traditionally, we see that securitization was more about like physical wars and all this stuff. So this is unconventional war. So governments need to keep in mind that cybersecurity is also a major burning issue of the world, a major important sector that need to be securitized. So government can include this into their security agenda, and then can take several measures to ensure that it is not being like threatened to their country or to their security or sovereignty. So securitization is also an important thing in this regard.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Unfortunately, the time for the question and answer has elapsed, so that was the last question we will entertain. I'm very sorry to everybody who has their hand up. We will not be entertaining your question for this panel, but perhaps if you have any more questions in the next panel, we can entertain them then. So I would just like to say congratulations to the economy panel. You guys did a very great job. So now we will be moving on to the next panel. So Mr. Fauzi, if you could share the big wheel again and give her a spin. Okay, who's gonna go next? Youth empowerment. Alrighty. So to the representatives of youth empowerment, please get yourselves ready. And for the facilitator to please share the screen. And yeah, the time starts when you start speaking. The floor is yours, guys.
Thank you for giving the opportunity. So this is Mohammad Ashwin Javed from Pakistan, and I will be representing Youth Empowerment panel here. So Just to, can you move to the next slide? Okay, so first we will be discussing that what is the role of youth in the current world. So according to the stats from United Nations and United Nations report in 2019, it stated that the youth comprises about 1.2 billion out of the 7.7 billion people. So it is about 15.6% of the total population. And of the total youth, about 80 to 85% lives in the developing world. So it is quite alarming that we need to develop such programs to empower youth in the developing nations so that the youth is more equipped in order to become a better society. So next slide, please. So we will be proposing a youth empowerment organization or an ideal youth empowerment organization and how it should work and what should be its mission statement, what should be its agenda, and what will be the things that it need to address. So stating from that, a youth empowerment organization should empower the youth from the age of 15 to 24 to reach their full potential through education, mentorship, and intervention programs, specially designed to reach the best version of themselves. These also include the marginalized community, digital literacy, and capacity building of youths and inclusive stakeholders also. Next slide, please. So discuss the objectives that the ideal youth empowerment organization should have. It should address the digital divide, and digital divide is basically the difference of the privileged society from the underprivileged one. So the accessibility of digital devices. So all the deserving students, all the deserving young people should be provided with basic digital amenities. Apart from that, they should be providing a proper platform so that the youth can gain more facilities, more education, and more things related to that. It should also include the underprivileged ones that are related from that belong from an like underdeveloped areas. It also includes marginalized community, the transgenders, the disabled persons, and the unemployed people, of course. So apart from that, a platform should be developed on the basis of the socio-economic status, cultural and religious backgrounds of the youth also. So in short, a youth empowerment organization should do everything to empower, educate, and facilitate the youth to become the best version of themselves. Next slide, please. So the general steps to be taken by the organization should be the collaboration with different governmental and non-governmental organizations to provide opportunities for youth, raising funds and donations for providing basic digital amenities to deserving individuals, digital activism, and utilizing every platform to raise awareness among the youth, and including marginalized community and differently able persons into the system. So I would like to invite Zahra to carry on from here.
Yes, thank you. This is Fatma Zahra from Turkey. Can you please move on to the next slide? So I will be talking about the distribution of digital essentials in marginalized communities. We talked about the key issues. Can you hear me? Am I audible, guys?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So the key issues about the distribution of digital essentials, we talked about the lackness of facilities such as provider, internet signal, device, and infrastructure in those communities. And secondly, the nescience or the ignorance of the power they hold of the youth in remote areas to make youth aware of what they are capable of doing. And thirdly, the closed-minded and unsupported environment in society or in marginalized communities or remote areas. So the solutions we found for those problems were, firstly, digital activism must be encouraged to make youth realize the power they hold, to give them a voice and a say on what's going on. And we said they should be able to see the results of their activism. So we mainly focused on that. And then equipping them with valuable soft skills like leadership, communication, team management, for them to be able to educate their circles, their communities as well, to be the leaders of their own communities, next generation leaders, and providing them volunteering opportunities so that they can see that they can change some things in the world on their own and directly, to make them realize the power they hold in the future. Move on to the next slide, please. So we propose that there should be regular online classes, or they should be provided basic digital amenities. Firstly, they should be provided basic digital amenities, then they should be offered regular online classes so that they can get educated on these issues more. And their mental health issues should be addressed and taken serious by government and their communities. Can you move on to the next slide, please? Next slide, please. And we said that there should be digital employment opportunities made by government or other institutions, so that the people in remote areas should realize the power of internet, and they should give more importance on that. And we talked about volunteering opportunities before, so that's all I want to say. And I would like to invite my friend Septi to talk. Septi, are you there?
All right. Just a little heads up. You guys actually have about 30 seconds left. So if you guys want to wrap up, if your final representative is having connectivity issues. So yeah, a heads up.
Then can we please move on to the next slide? So in our topic, the role of government is actually really huge, because they are the ones who should take responsibility and encourage youth to take responsibility as well for their future. So we've listed some solutions that I will probably not have the time to speak on. Yeah, sure, Septi.
Thank you so
much. All right, I'm very
so
sorry to cut you off, but your time is actually up now. That was your 30 seconds. I'm very sorry. Perhaps you could elaborate more on your solutions when answering questions. So with that, we're just gonna move straight to the question and answer session. So I'm gonna start the time for that. First question we have from the education panel, Joko Susilo.
Okay, thank you, Chair. The great presentation for your Empower panel. The main problem in the population sector in the development country is the number of informal workers dominant in the workforce. The risk of informal worker is not getting a decent salary and welfare. This will also be a risk faced in the young population after pandemic. How you encourage youth and government to provide formal employment opportunities and fair job for youth? Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, can I go
All right.
first to answer?
Yes. You can ask the question. Go right ahead.
Okay, so thank you so much.
I just got some
Sorry, who would like to answer the question?
I just got some connectivity issues, so I'm not sure whether what the question was. So can you repeat it?
All right. Okay, to Mr. Joko, can you please repeat your question?
Okay, I read my question in the chat.
Oh, okay, it's in the chat. Then in that case, I could read it for you. So The main problem in the population sector is developing countries that the number of informal workers dominate the workforce, and the risk of informal workers is not getting a decent salary and welfare guarantee. This will also be a risk faced by the young population after the pandemic. How will you encourage the youth and the government to provide formal employment opportunities and fair job opportunities for the youth?
Sure. So we can do it in two different ways. So first of all, we can always pursue the government to make certain legislation to empower the youth and to indulge the youth in corporate sector and to generate more opportunities for them and to obviously make a decent salary for them. And the other thing is to generate other sources of income. For example, other digital means through which they can earn their living in a respectable manner. We can provide them training sessions on content writing, graphic designing, and other soft skills through which they can earn through different digital platforms. So I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer. I will be moving on to the next question now. Maybe we could have somebody from the mental health panel. We have Miss Bea here, if you would like to ask your question.
Hi, yeah. Just a short one. Just want to ask, how does the ability of young people to make decisions in any and all areas of their lives relate to their overall empowerment? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Youth Empowerment Panel, if you'd like to answer.
Can I go? Can I go on?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, firstly, let's say leave Septi.
Okay, thank you so much. So basically, when we're talking about so when the role of the youth empowerment and with their capability and ability to these communities and etc., we believe that already stated with the youth empowerment and how the youth empowerment it's gain their age. It's from 15 until 24. So we believe that maybe there is still of confusing with them that or what kind of things that they want to choose, what kind of the aspect they want to choose. But we believe that through the youth empowerment communities that develop between one to each other and they can to engage one member to the other's members, we believe that it could be minimize the numbers of the confusings and engage and increase the numbers of their hidden ability, their hidden capability, and their hidden talent itself. So I believe that the youth community itself is the best solution through this. Thank you.
All right. Since we do have quite a lot of people, we're just going to speed through this a little bit. So we're going to move on to the next question to Ms. Dia from the education panel, if you would like to ask your question.
Oh, thank you. That was a great presentation. My question is that one of you suggested that digital activism should be encouraged. However, there are several countries where the government is repressive and the youth does not get to speak up. If they try to, their voices are suppressed, through ruthless methods. So, what's your solution for that?
Can I answer?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay. I will give an example from my country. There were a lot of people who got jailed because of the tweets they shared on media, but youth in my country found a solution. So they are making jokes. Like, this is actually a really easy one, but they're making jokes. They're making everything into a joke so that when it has gotten bigger of an issue that can go to a trial even, they just can say that it's a joke. It was a joke, so that it's not taken serious. Well, it depends on the government, actually. For that, I think you need to be able to know your people better, know your society better, and what they can understand, what they can excuse you doing. For my community, it's jokes. Like, people make jokes about government or politicians lightheartedly, so that it's not taken really serious, and people can still understand what they mean, but it's not something to be taken on to the court. So if you know your society better, if you know your people better, you can like still share some stuff on your social media that will at least show your side, at least show what you support and the topic in hand. I hope this will answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So since we're short on time, I will only be entertaining one more question. So let's see who has their hand up. We could have somebody from the mental health panel. Perhaps Mr. Oh, there's the timer. Mr. Deos, if you could ask your question. Yeah, I see you've had your hand up for a while now. So go ahead.
Everyone can hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, my question goes straight to the youth empowerment. We know that girls are left behind even before the pandemic, and they are not empowered much. So when it comes to the pandemic of COVID, it is be compromised more, especially in the area of employment and the education. So how this empowerment, the empowerment plan to this gender issue, especially girls, in terms of education and employment, especially in the developing country.
Okay, if the panel representatives could answer.
Thank you so much. Maybe can I go first? So basically,
Yeah.
when we're talking about how to engage the women, as yeah, it's already it's happening all in most of the countries, especially in developing countries, such as the gender inequality. It's really it's really give measurable things. So basically, through the youth empowerment, we believe that there is a youth woman empowerment instead to give the support and engage them to more applicable with their entire movement and entire empowerment itself. And there is things that the youth communities, we believe that maybe there is some of the inequality that happening at the harassment through the woman, and if there is some of volunteering, the woman gives some of the things that measurable and pathetic. But we believe that maybe the youth woman empowerment through the social media and like influence some of the most of the people and young generations could help much to decrease the number of the harassment and inequality to the women. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So that will be the last question we are entertaining since we are out of time. Thank you for the overwhelming amount of questions though. So if anybody is interested to still ask the Youth Empowerment Panel, you can message them in the chat directly and they will be happy to answer your question. So just a big congratulations once again to the Youth Empowerment Panel. You guys did a wonderful presentation and we were very intrigued with your material. So we're gonna move on to the next panel. So for Mr. Fauzi, please pull up the wheel once again and give her a spin. Okay. And we have tourism and culture. All right. So congrats on being representatives of tourism and culture. If you could just prepare yourself into the facilitator of the panel to share their screen. And yeah, the floor is yours. Your time starts as soon as you start speaking. Oh, and I'm very sorry, but a quick note just before we start the presentation. I'm seeing a lot of people ask about the attendance sheet. It will be shared after the final group has presented, so please do be patient, guys. It will be sent to you guys, so just sit tight and watch the presentations. Thank you. All right, back to the tourism and culture panel. All right, to the representatives, if you could do your presentation, your time starts as soon as you start speaking. Hello, would anyone like to step up to present? Don't think I'm seeing anybody.
Hello there.
Hello, hi, yes, you are audible. All right, you may start.
Digital tourism panel 4. Yes, of course. Sorry, first I want to tell that my English is not really good, so I will tell what I know. So please, the facilitator, can you slide the pages? Yes, of course. So there's 3 points that I want to tell. First, from the digital tourism. Before that, I want to tell you that this main point is, you know, that COVID-19 is really affect a lot of aspect in life. Meanwhile, we know that tourism is the biggest industrial in the world. So yeah, I will try to tell this point by digital tourism. This one is tell about virtual travel program. We know in this case that virtual travel program really affect a lot because we know it really help a lot of people. So yeah, in this program, there's gonna be such a virtual game that can people share or something that we can manage to track people. Is it for local people from another city so that they can get enjoyment to spend opportunity with this one. So digital tourism is the use of digital tools to prepare, organize, control, and enjoy the travel experience. When doing tourism, learn more in digital tourism business. So this is a systematic review of essential digital marketing strategies and trends. Find more terms and definition using dictionary, search, and highlights. Digital free tourism is conceptualized as voluntary undertaken, escape personal growth, health and well-being, and relationships are main motivators. Tourists show awareness of negative effects ICT on the tourist experience. Digital free tourists are not generally hostile towards ICT. Digital free tourist is a potential tool for mental health and wellness practitioners. So after that, I'm going to tell about the sustainable tourism. So this is about ecological and environment. So yeah, in this case, that sustainable tourism, the good cooperation between local authorities and organizations, which mean project leader, member, and volunteer. From this, we know how to keep our nature safe, like how to plan and gain opportunity between people, with organizations and government to make a prospect for nature and biodiversity to keep it out. So the people from another country can see the attractions of the places, how it can be interesting by joining this webinar. And now this places is interesting. So the good cooperations between local authorities and organizations. For local authorities, they know exactly about the populations and the labor force in their area. Cooperate with them help us to understand more about the situations as well as we can. Work regularly thanks to their instruct and support. The understanding of ethnic cultural heritage. When we understand the culture deeply, we know how to preserve and also promote it correctly. Take an example, there's a more than 1,000 years old. And what is that? It's Candi Borobudur and Candi Prambanan that's located in Yogyakarta. So we know the example. If we don't know the history and architecture style of it, we cannot rebuild or restore it correctly. We will otherwise destroy it by reconstructing it incorrectly. A deep understanding of ethnic culture also helps us to know what local people need to do, maintain the traditions, and also what we should do to help them during the globalization era. 3 points about the promote tourism through social media. We know that there's a lot of giant social media. To promote tourism through social media is build a team as commit. So by building a team, we know how to work each other and create a better prospect, especially in giant social media. We know there's a lot of people, it's around a million who download such as Facebook and Instagram, TikTok. You can see the video and building the relationships and how interesting is tourism. So yeah, of course, to arranging the rundown and all the stuff needed. Approach media partner to help us execute this project. Open donations to get money. So yes, for the local people, it's so hard to look for money during pandemic. So we should ensure them with support and donation and distributions for the government. Yeah, of course, from this, they will be insured and live with high priority with we know that their economic standard is not really developed. So we call the rich people who do investment and any kind of business to can be controlled by us. To poor people, they will have the money that the rich people have, but it's yeah. Also, for that, open the sponsorship. We will make relationships with another company like Shopee, Lazada, and another. So this is also spread the information about this project massively. I think it's enough. Thank you. So I will give to another representative, Ria and Lynn.
Well, all right. Just a heads up. Sorry to cut you off, but just a heads up. You guys have about 1 minute left for presenting time. So if you could make that time effective, that would be great.
Okay, so since we have spoken about three major projects for tourism and culture due to the pandemic, so one is digital tourism, sustainable tourism, and promotion of tourism through social media. The answer right now, since the pandemic is still going on, is that there is an opportunity for governments and the local communities to focus on sustainable tourism. So to get the local authorities and the local community as involved as they can into the tourism. So this is an opportunity for the community to put up their priorities in the way that they can probably, approach tourism from their point of view, and local businesses can take this as an opportunity to build their businesses through government policies and to give a good balance between obligation and influence, and give commitment to planning initiatives within the country. And the planning can be for the government, and the planning can be for the community groups, and it can also lead to a large investment in time, expertise, or limited resources. So through these things, local businesses can approach governments in order to improve, in order to motivate more local businesses to come out during tourism within a certain country. So there will be there'll be involvement of community in equal partnership with the local authorities. There'll be involvement of community organizations strategically or on a case basis. At the same time, the tourism provide the community with resources from local authorities. So even though there could be some drawbacks.
Very sorry to cut you off, but your time is up. That was your 1 minute. So that was the presentation for tourism and culture. That would be the time. Thank you very much to the speakers and their representative. To the final representative of the panel, perhaps you may want to be active in answering the questions. So I think without further ado, I think we could just jump right in to the questions. So we have somebody from the education panel, Mr. Niklaus Michelson. If you would like to ask your question. Mr. Niklaus, are you there? All right, if he's not there, we could just move on to another person who would like to ask. Somebody else from the education panel, we have Mr. Shabil Shahpalevi. If you would like to ask your question, do go ahead. I don't think you are audible. I cannot hear you, sir. Sir? Oh, yes, you're audible now. All right.
Okay, thank you for the recognition, moderator. So we know that all over the world now are planning for sustainable tourism, which is vital for any aspect related, and there must be the condition for sustainable tourism. How do we met those criteria or condition in this pandemic situation and make it interesting for tourists? Some might think it one effective or not entertaining. Thank you.
All right, to the panel representatives. Yes, go ahead.
I don't know, I didn't really understand the question completely, but I'll just try to answer from what I understood. So to make the sustainable tourism more approachable to the travelers, to the tourists, the local communities can take accountability by placing regulations or guidelines, and plan to help and protect and preserve their local communities at the same time and areas. So this effort would also have to put into enforcing regulations, guidelines, and plans. And the tourism industry and tourism companies of that particular country can take greater responsibility to pay into or invest into the destination they frequent the most to help maintain them. At the same time, since impact and accountability is shared by various stakeholders, there needs to be more collaboration, possibly through private, public, and community partnerships. So this could include the government, consumers, local communities, tourism workers, tourism companies, and tourism industries, and also the third parties. I hope that answers your question.
All right. Thank you very much for the answer. I will just be moving on since there are a few questions. Maybe we could have Ms. Aishlu Garayeva from the Digital Economy panel, if you would like to ask your question.
Yeah, it's me. Thank you. Thank you for your magnificent presentation. I've just was interested in the, maybe it was last slide, where you evaluate the strength of the tourism, and you wrote the entertainment. What you include in this word? Which part of entertainment did you include?
Okay, to the representatives, you may go ahead and answer. Hello, is anybody there? Would anyone like to answer the question?
So when we mean by entertainment, we meant by focusing more on the cultural aspects of the particular country. So if we are showing entertainment through digital, then obviously the entertainment would be through, dances, or it can be through plays, or it can be through the awareness and increasing the knowledge of the cultural aspects of a country. That usually happens also when we go visit another country. At the same time, entertainment can be trying to involve the tourists digitally as much as we can, because obviously right now we cannot involve each other gastronomically. You cannot go and taste the different kind of food that countries have, but at the same time you can maybe give them knowledge about how the certain food is made, what are the ingredients that are used, have like cooking sessions online. So these are the few entertainment strengths that we can have right now through digital tourism.
Okay, I get it. Thank you from Russia. Thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you so much. Moving on to the next question. Perhaps we could have Ms. Mahek from the Digital Economy.
So my question to the tourism and culture panel is that in this pandemic situation, and now that the Delta variant is out, how will they persuade the tourists to come and visit? They are very scared to even leave their houses. So how will they persuade them? How can they provide them assurance to travel? That's my question.
At the end of the day, there has to be it's not about pre-pandemic or post-pandemic. The main concern is that everyone has to get vaccinated. So the main focus of different countries when they are promoting tourism after pandemic or even during the pandemic is the fact that put the emphasis on vaccination, put the emphasis on getting getting yourself tested before going to a country, follow the measures that they're coming up with, have a sort of, a travel insurance is there nowadays for the specific, virus. At the same time, you have to reflect a sort of safety for the tourists that are willing to come to your country. So the safeties can be the measures that they take, sanitation, proper itineraries for the tourists so that there isn't overcrowding. So these are a few measures that can be taken during, the various variants that are happening right now.
Okay, thank you. It clears.
All right, if that answers the question, we might be moving on. There's about 2 minutes left. Maybe we could have Miss Naria Noor from the education panel. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to ask to the panels. We know that during the pandemic, the hotels and other occupancies places are empty. So how do you deal with these issues? Since we know that the tourism sector gives a very significant income for them, and the virtual solution like the virtual tourism and so on will not work for this concerns. Thank you.
All right, if the panel representative could go ahead and answer.
The question wasn't clear. Can she repeat it, please?
All right, if you could repeat.
Okay. During the pandemic, during the pandemic, the hotels, villas, and other places were empty, and there is no income from them. And I think the virtual tourism is not effective because it is unable to compensate their income. So how do you deal with that issue?
So you're asking about the occupations that have been affected due to the pandemic, and how they won't be implemented in. See, this is obviously somewhere where the government has to step in, right? This is where the government has to come up with measures for such certain occupations. Like you said, hotels are closed. So what do we do with the hotel employees? Restaurants are closed. What do we do with the restaurant employees? So this is something that definitely the government will have to come into, because it's a difficult situation where you cannot compensate the safety of these employees by opening up hotels or restaurants. So since it is, sector that has been the most affected due to the pandemic, there isn't a proper substantial answer to this. Unless someone wants to jump in, then of course.
Okay, does anybody would like to add? If not, we can move on to the next question. We have time for one more. Perhaps we could have Mr. Oh, yes?
I think I'm okay. You can continue to the next question.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Can I answer to this question, please?
Oh, you would like to add?
Yeah. I would just want to add something regarding the government. How can government could step in, like this restaurant. Like I'm from Germany, and the government is connecting to the employees. They are just giving stipends, and they are just giving alternatives to that employees in the government sectors, and 500 euros to every employee as a stipend, because they are saying that this is something a natural disaster, not a human made thing. So we can so they are creating other ways like the home delivery process, and they are giving preference and privileges to those employees who are being unemployed due to restaurants closure or something like that, and they are giving all the preferences and importance to these people who are being unemployed, and they are creating other virtual jobs for them. And this is all upon the government policies and the policy maker and the good governance, and is upon the high level, not from the low level. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your answer. So we will only have time for one more question. So I think maybe we could have Mr. Sardor from the Digital Economy panel. Go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you very much. It was a great presentation. So my question is, if governments, for example, resume the international tourism, don't you, and the amount of COVID cases are in the rise, don't you think the citizens of those countries will blame government for resuming the tourism? Don't you think there will be a potential conflict between the citizens and country?
Okay, who would like to answer that question?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah.
All right, I'll go ahead.
If governments resume international tourism, then the number of COVID cases will increase. And then the citizens might, blame governments for resuming those tourism sector. And there will be a potential conflict. People will start telling, for example, because you brought so many people from foreign countries, right now the vaccines are not working, and a lot of people are catching the COVID-19. So there might be a potential conflict between those two. So what's your suggestion to solve those issues?
Yeah, for me, as a part of European sector, what we are facing, like we are now open. Everywhere is open now in Europe, like in France, Germany, and every country. So as part of Asian countries, if I talk, so there are still things are going on to be settled down. And there are many doctors, they are saying we have much more diseases like corona, apart from corona, like we have HIV, AIDS, we have other issues too. This when the vaccine will be fully activated, and there will be no issues like that in the future, as far as the economists of these countries are saying. Because here now we don't have to wear mask, we don't have to wear mask in the gyms, only in the area of groceries, unless we are not allowed to wear, because things are very clear now. In Italy, you all know that there are many problem over there. Even the tourism has been open in Italy. In Asia, still there is an awareness issues, what I believe. If there is awareness, because we believe in social media's content, not in reality. We don't read, we don't study, we don't contact doctors, we don't contact professionals. Because everyone is a professional in our country, like in Asia, in Pakistan, in India, everyone is talking on Facebook, and okay, this is that, but they are not consulting the true professionals of what are these. So what I believe, that tourism will be open in the future, and this will be apart from this. Everyone will be having a vaccinated certificate, and yeah, because there are many much more heart diseases other than coronavirus. So it will be fine, because I see here it is fine now.
All right, thank you so much. Since the time for the question and answer has elapsed, I'm gonna have to close this question and answer session. A big congratulations to the Tourism and Culture panel representative for the great presentation and for the great answers to the questions. So now we will be moving on to our next panel. See, I don't exactly remember how many more panels we have, but we could pull up the wheel again. All right, it's just loading on my end. Okay, so we have mental health and technology left. Who will it be? All right, what is that landing on? Okay, I think we might have to spin again. Alrighty, who will it be? Okay, spinning again. We gotta narrow down these. Yes, indeed, the winner is Minion, but Minion isn't in the Zoom meeting right now, so it has to be one of the panels. Mental health, all right, that's great. So, to the facilitator of the mental health, if you could please share your screen now, and to the representative, if you would like to prepare yourself for your presentation, your time starts whenever you start speaking.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Yashila, and I'm from India, and I'm from the mental health panel. And today we'll be focusing on how to maintain stability in the society. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so our question and focus today, which we were given, it was during this pandemic where pressures have come on to us due to the problems faced by the societies and the individuals because of the pandemic and so many people dying. So our question was, what can each stakeholder do as an individual, communities and government to maintain the mental stability of the society on the whole? So what can we do on an individual level? Firstly, the general problems that we all face and faced during the lockdowns were anxiety, depressions, getting gaslighted by maybe our friends or our parents or our neighbors, feeling hopeless, and because of the hopelessness, suicidal thoughts coming to us. So the solution, you know how we all want to help people around us, but first we do that, we got to take a minute and contemplate that are we really mentally equipped for this? Like, do we have the mental space to help others? So whenever we usually do that, we realize that actually we think we're doing pretty great, but in reality, we might not be doing that great. So firstly, in order to help others or to extend ourselves to others, we need to heal ourselves. Mahatma Gandhi once said, be the change you want to see in the world, hence the change that we want to see, it will start from us. So we have to shape ourselves mentally, we have to become resilient and mentally stable. For doing so, we can practice yoga, we can exercise every day, and we can give our hobbies sometimes in each day, which can contribute a lot into the well-being of our mental health. Next one, please. And once we get the hold and the control of our mental state, like when we think that, okay, now I am mentally stable and maybe now I can extend myself to the others. So before doing that, we have to make sure that there is a peace of mind, and then we can think what we can do for others, including those that we can never see. Imagine you just get a text on Instagram, not the creepy ones, but the good one, saying that he or she may be going through difficult times, but you're just like, I don't have the mental space for that when you're not mentally good. But when you're mentally good, you can extend yourselves to them and make sure that they are doing good too. Because this time is a very hard time for everyone. And we need to remind ourselves that it's totally okay to have fear and feel worried when there's a pandemic going on. But only thing that can help us is developing calmness and clear-sightedness. In this way, we can help others and including ourselves. And the next part, doing a social media detox. I remember when the first wave of the pandemic came, everyone was like, WhatsApp has this news, WhatsApp has that news, but it wasn't reliable because everyone or anyone could put their thoughts out there and someone would think that, okay, this is reliable information. But no, it wasn't. So we have to take a minute and we have to do a social media detox in order to choose what we have to believe in from the real sources instead of the unreliable sources like social media. And also the artificial intelligence can put a lot of feed into your Instagram or Facebook, which you might believe in. And we know that in a lot of cultures, mental states and mental health is a stigma. It's a taboo to talk about it. So when you're good, when you're mentally strong, you have to talk about it. You have to start from your own family, standing up for yourself or for your cousins or your brothers, sisters. And we have to end the stigma of mental health. We have to be a mentally sane, responsible citizen of the society. Now I will ask Padma to please come and
Thank you, Ashila, for such a great presentation on individual. What is at community level? Building mental health residents is a lifelong affair, which must start from young, teaching them how to rebound, them how to deal with failures and rebounding from every fall. These are some of the great words which are spoken by Halima Yacob, the president of Singapore. What are the problems which we are facing? Awareness, stigma, underreported, loneliness, and unbreakable bonds. Let me start with myself. Being a 12-year-old, once upon a time, facing the unknown phase of depression, and Sharzad, being a mother of 2 children who is one of my friends, we are few of the millions of individuals across the globe with a hope and vision of mental health well-being. And this is the hope for everyone, and this is the vision of all the individuals? These are underreported and these are never recognized. According to the Indonesian reports, the stigma is one of the major causes for mental health. There is no particular guidance, awareness about mental health. About 1.7% of the Indonesian population is facing with lack of awareness and a large number of series of problems. Now, how we can change this equation from accountability to accessibility. Public awareness on mental health is the first key to have a better understanding. Having a nationwide study to understand the community level approach, having call centers so that they can be taken by the professionals as well as provide better employment to the interns. And in this way, we can also give in the digital economy right now. Art and music therapy to the people who need it to express themselves, to support each other, explore the stigma and community level effort to face it together, awareness in the situation, impacting individuals and working together. Using apps such as Not Okay app, where you will download 5 members of your family members. When you're not okay, you'll just press it and they'll just call you and give you support. And giving these platforms in a different phase as well as community resilience is in one of the important points to give you optimism, self-belief, control on self, willingness to adapt, to be flexible, being comfortable in uncomfortable, accessibility to accountability to accessibility. Now I'm like to give my floor back to the Farsia for her excellent presentation on government.
Okay, I would like to present about how the government could contribute to the mental health issue. So the first of all, I would like to remind that the government is an official and authorized and which are obligated to provide the best for their citizens. And according to many issues, the government could take a very small step that could influence 100 or maybe 1,000 or even millions of their citizens. So the first of all, I would like to propose a solution to distribute a very much more accessible professional healthcare system, especially mental health care. Because especially in this pandemic situation where it is online, it is supposed to be accessible to everyone anywhere based on an accessible and a credible electronic system. And it would be great to have a source to consult as advice on, or maybe just someone to listen to your story. And the second one is to collaborate with public figures in order to spread awareness to a wider audience. I'm actually in Jakarta now, and I know a pageant winner that has a mental health campaign and is collaborating with the government. And they're actually visiting schools and public schools and are campaigning about the importance of mental health. And I think it does a very wonderful job in giving awareness to the children in schools. And the last one is giving financial support, promoting the arts, free internet services, and online competitions with awards. Now, this might not really seem like a big step towards mental health, but it does improve a lot towards our well-being, because it is proven that by doing activities such as art or any hobbies that could promote our skills and talents, it is proven to improve our well-being and self-confidence as well. And I would like to give a closing quote about the government, which is the government's first duty and highest obligation is public safety. And we believe from the mental health panel that mental health is one of the most important issue that is still happening and ongoing now. And it would be very great for the government to assess those issues. And as for the last one,
sorry to cut you off, but your time has just finished. Okay. So I think we could wrap up for the presentation. And now I'm gonna open the question and answer panel for 7 minutes. If anybody would like to ask their question, let me just give me 1 second to set up the timer. All right, okay, maybe we could start with Ms. Kadja from the Youth Empowerment Panel, if you would like to ask your question.
Hi, okay, thank you for the opportunity. So I want to ask, if we're talking about mental health, many of the youth community has been aware of the mental health and stuff, but it's not really that way in older generations. It's still considered very taboo if we talk about mental health with your parents or older family members. What I want to ask is, how do you think is the best way to talk about mental health to older generations in a way that is not not aggressive, that will make them listen to you, make them understand that what we're facing through in this mental health situation? Yeah, that's my question.
All right, if anyone would like to go ahead and answer.
Can I answer it?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Karja, first of all, for such a valuable question. First of all, I want to start it with a famous saying: "Those who can go to the king, they can, but they cannot. Who cannot go to God." It's the same when compared to the remote communities or the people from old generations about mental health. Even they faced it, they doesn't know what actually is mental health. They won't recognize the importance of it, and they had went through the process, and they're allowing the future generations to go through the process. So the important thing is the first spoken education panel has clearly mentioned about the importance of education. So educating them in such a way they get to know it from the basic levels. So how we can do it? The policymakers should make bridges, but not the barriers with the local communities or the people by having continuous interactions, campaigns, funding, and as well as giving them security and support because people listen to the policymakers. So the policymakers are the influencers here. So they need to say and express themselves. So then the people get to know about it, and the stigma can be converted into destigmatization in the society. I hope I answered your question.
Okay. All right. Very sorry for that delay. We're going to move on to the next question. Perhaps we could have Mr. Maas from the technology panel, if you would like to ask your question.
Hello. So I would like to frame my question that during this pandemic time, many households where there were abusive spouse partners, there were already a big mental trauma there. But during this time of pandemic, as the situation got worsened, many of those spouses might have lost their job or because of the frustration of living at home. The victims got even worse affected. That could be the like spouse or the children. So, what are the steps that could be taken to combat this trauma or this whole situation where these victims are facing the abusive activities, mental abusive or physical abusive?
Can I answer?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Maz, for your question. Actually, this was sort of a similar question that I asked the speaker, the main speaker of the mental health. I asked about gaslighting, what we can do when you're being gaslighted by your parents or in your household. What he suggested was that we could form community groups. Like I said in the chat, we can make community groups of woke people. Let's say you're living in a society or you're living in a building. Obviously, you can hear some of the domestic violence that you referred to. As obviously, whosoever is the victim, he or she is not going to stand up against the whole family because of our cultural issues. So what we can do as neighbors or as the residents of those buildings, we can ask the police to intervene. If not the police, we can go and confront the victim in order to contact the mental health providers. We've been given a lot of helpline numbers where we can just call and talk. So we could, that thing can help us. And we could, on an individual and on a community level, if you're living in a society, as I said, we could make it like we could choose a day where you all could socialize on like keeping the social distancing norms in your mind. That way everyone can interact, and whenever you are interacting with a sad or depressed person, usually you can tell that something is off. So when something is off, you can try confronting them, and when you're confronting them, like sometimes it just happens, you ask someone, are you okay? And that person just collapses, like emotionally he or she collapses. Sometimes just that question, are you okay? Just confronting them, that would help. So that's what I think. If you both want to add something, you can.
All right, I'm very sorry, but I might just
You're on mute, Padma.
Oh, okay. Would you like to add, Padma?
Yes, ma'am. As Sheila said before about the substantial use and the violence which is happening, domestic violence which is happening at home, has been increased a great wide range. But we can reduce it by making the people recognize about the situation, because anger is one of which comes under the mental health, which people never discuss, or they never take it as an importance. But by having a recognition, like the bounds in the family should be very important. Like the family, the relations should be recognized as And about the gaslighting, which she had mentioned before, it was something, a big topic which we discussed, and a great intakes have been we had taken from it. I think people should need to recognize it from self. It is not someone is going to say you, it comes from self. So we need, but we can do that by creating awareness, and before that the person should realize the importance of it. So I believe that in the future that people will recognize the substantial use of the domestic violence by hurting another person in your anger or in your own impactful ways may create or disturb the other person's mental health, and we should recognize and respect the other person. I think that is the most basic rule that everyone should implement in their lives. It all starts with the individual level.
All right, thank you very much.
Sorry, I would just like to add a bit. Okay.
Yeah, that was the timer, guys. I'm very sorry, but that would wrap up the question and answer session for now. If anybody would like to ask directly to the panel speakers, you could private text them, maybe from the chat or perhaps from Telegram. That would be all right too. So I think it's time now to move on to the final panel for their presentation. The last but not least, the technology panel. So for the facilitator, if you could please share the screen. And for the panel representatives, if you're ready, just go right on ahead. Your time starts as soon as you start speaking. To the panel representatives, are you guys there?
There are no sound. We can't hear you.
Wait. Who would like to present? Aishul, are you presenting or?
No, I'm not presenting, but I can't hear the.
Neither
Okay.
can I. So for the representatives of the technology panel, if you guys could please present now.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, you're audible.
Good evening. Our first statement idea is that the government should improve the regulations strictly. For example, the government should punish the perpetrator of cybercrime strictly. The legal protection to guarantee the consumer service prevention way. In my opinion, the e-commerce corporation should make and update the security regularly to complicate who want to do the cybercrime. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. Privacy and sense of security is one of the essential human rights that should be granted by the government in the context of the digital era. User data privacy and security is the necessity to be fulfilled by the government. This idea needs to be willingness of the government to be enforced. So it would be better if the countries around the world work together to enforce this idea with UN resolution. Next slide, please. Okay,
Now
next presenter.
Now I would like to take on from the second statement. So, like the cyber threats that are being faced by the whole of the world are common to people living in different countries. They are now not bounded by the country lines. So there could be various steps taken to combat those. As Aksa previously mentioned, the role of the government that could be followed, that the government could take to prevent these and be more responsible. Those organizations could be more responsible in implementing those laws and penalizing those people who have committed the breach in the security. As of the second idea, I would like to request to please go to the previous slide where I could explain the second points. The second statement, the first slide of the second statement, please. The first slide, the previous, please. Second statement. Yes. Next slide. Yeah, please stop. Okay, so there are few steps that could be taken on the individual level. There should be the password setups. The password should not be randomly or easily set up and should remain same for every site, but they should be, changed on a regular basis, and they should follow the system like proper rules, like using some few of the capital letters, the small letters. These are some simple practice that everyone could follow. Now, the second one could be using a VPN for all connections. Like a VPN can help you against identity theft by helping protect your data. So it creates an encrypted tunnel for the data you send and receive that's out of reach of the cyber thieves. One thing that you should follow is destroy before the disposal. Any receipts, any hard disk, USB, everything. The other could be using properly updated antivirus and anti-malwares, which I'm going to explain in the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, so one solution could be for the password remembrance. This is a very big issue that is being faced. That nowadays there are password being set up for everything, and many people don't remember them. So there comes a facility of password manager where you could they generate the auto passwords and then save it on your device so that you could access it. It's a very safe technology, and an example is given here, Bitwarden by Keypass. Next slide, please. Okay, so one important thing is to prevent these phishing mails, which are highly common these days. They spam in your mails. To reach the end users, we should get the legitimate and trusted antivirus being installed in our desktop before, so that before these phishing attempts can be made, we can protect our system and the important information. Network firewalls should remain updated while surfing the internet. And one new breakthrough is that there are few websites like Virus Total on which we can check if the website is legitimate by simply putting the HTTP link on it. And they'll tell you if that is clean or a phishing website. Now I'll ask next speaker to come. Thank
you. Thank you. Very good, Maz. I would like to state our third statement idea here. And I think organizations should make use of multi-factor or two-factor authentications. This means that even someone steals your username and password, they have to provide another code or a password in order to access your sensitive information. Next slide, please. Two-factor authentications works by adding another layer of security to your accounts. For example, if someone logins even with your username and password, and they have to access another passphrase that is made temporarily. For example, that passphrase is valid for only 1 minute, and they have to access it through a device that you have or through an SMS or email. The methods of sending a 2FA passphrase is, for example, by email or SMS, which is less safe because emails can be hacked and SMS can be listened to. But there's a safer way, which is...
I'm so sorry, but your time has elapsed. So I think we should just wrap up for the presentation. Great job to the representative. We're gonna officially open the question and answer. Please give me a second to set up the timer again. Alrighty, First question, I think we could have Mr. Monish from the mental health panel. If you could go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you for your recognition. I want to ask a question that what government can do in cooperation with developers to the basic level of villages to empower the ideas of them. Thanks.
So as far as I get your question, it's like how you want to ask, like, how can the government in collaboration with the local volunteers can impart the technical knowledge to those to the rural area people. So yeah, so one step clearly is there are many volunteer organizations being run by youth, which gives this technical and the digital knowledge to many people, which have already given this to, for example, the teachers in the rural areas who were earlier only aware of the teaching in a conventional manner. So they could, along with these technological knowledge, like using how to use the Google Meet, etc., they could also impart the knowledge and the tips of how to not get trapped by the fraudulent website. What are the simple things they can follow, like not to go to any untrusted websites, not to open the emails which are in the spam folder. These are some digital literacy which the non-volunteer, the volunteer organizations could pass on to the those people, and they can be funded by the government.
Thank you.
Okay, thank. All right, very sorry for that. Thank you very much for the answer. Next question. Just gonna scroll through a little bit. Perhaps we could have Miss Lin from the tourism and panel. Miss Lin Furong. I'm very sorry for if I mispronounce your name. If you would like to ask your question. There. All right, okay, hello? Am I audible?
Yes,
okay.
you are audible.
Yes, you are. All right, cool, thank you very much. I just had a notification that my connection is unstable. Perhaps if Miss Lin isn't there, maybe we could have Miss Wenning Ila from the education panel.
Yes, thank
you.
you.
Like to ask your question?
So my question is, one of your solution that you have give is by using or implementing the VPN, but I think the VPN is only for developed countries. Why I can say like that? Because VPN costs money. Yes, there's a free VPN, but the protection of free VPN is not good. So, and also about the limitation on every country. Only a powerful country have legitimacy on the VPN. So I think we should reconstruct again the solution about the VPN. And if you have any perspective on my what I said, you may share it. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you so much for your question. Panel representatives, go right on ahead.
Okay, so yeah, I agree with you that not every country has access to good like VPNs, and like it's expensive. It's paid if you are going to use a trustable VPN, they are paid. But you know, VPN don't need to be used for every activity you go on internet for. These solutions are not applicable on every situation. Each solution could be used for their particular benefits, for their particular problem. Like VPNs could be more could be used in the transaction purposes, which is only a sector of a number of activities that are being run on internet. So it is like required most in those transactions activities where the transfer of funds are being made. So I think that could be easily affordable if you are going to use it for a one particular or a few particular activities, not for like every activity. I agree with you that it cannot be used for every activity, but for the financial transactions, for payments, yeah, definitely VPN needs to be used, and that's affordable by the government if you could count for only this sector.
I would like to add that there are a few free VPNs that are quite good and safe. I usually use Speedify or Windescribe. These are the two ones. They give you free bandwidth monthly. The Windescribe gives you 10 gigabytes of free bandwidth monthly. So you can use the 10 gigabytes for your important only transactions, as Maz said. And anyway, if you want a free VPN that is completely safe, that doesn't exist even with the paid VPNs. And if you want a completely safe solution, you have to use the Tor project. And you can search for it. It's completely safe and free and open source.
All right, thank you so much. We will be moving on to the next question. I think we can have Mr. Mohsin from the Digital Economy panel.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. My question for the technology panel is, do you guys think that all these digital attacks, cyber attacks and unethical hacking, do you guys think that these problems are global problems? And if so, that global problems need global solution. So have there in past have been any initiatives taken up by the world community? And if not, like what suggestion you guys can put up on this regard that the world community should need to take up to to cope up with this these ongoing stressful issues?
Yeah, I do agree with your opinion. Like the cyber crimes are one of the most addressed threats that are being faced by the nations globally. There have been laws made which by the UN in consultation with the UNs. So but they mostly are concerned with international they are mostly concerned with the international crimes and some fraudulent activity that are being happening on a more on a upper level. So as for the underlying level of the national level or the local level, like mostly the country, each country have to make laws and see it. And in my opinion, there should be a collaborations between the government and the organization which are set up for this purpose only. So they could mutually come up to the agreement of making laws, deciding the penalties, and taking further measurements, and involving a many bright minds how they can stop these cyber threats. What are the methods that are being made, and what improvements that are can be made? Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, the time has elapsed for the question and answer session. So I think that would close our final presentation. A big congratulations, not only to the technology panel, but to everybody who has presented. And thank you so much to everybody who has asked questions and answered questions. We had a really good discussion going on, both in the live session as well as in the chat. So a big congratulations to all of you, and also for completing your discussions. So a time to wrap. We head on. As I can see, I think we might have a photo session first. So perhaps to our host or the committee, if you guys could please prepare for the photo session. And now I would like to ask everybody else to please open your camera and flash on your happiest smiles. And we're gonna get ready for the photo session. So is Miss Wulan gonna do the photo?
Okay, I will take the photo.
All right, cool.
Okay, the first for slide 1. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, for the third slide. 1, 2, 3. Slide 4. 1, 2, 3. 5 slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 6 slide. 1, 2, 3. And 7 slide. 1, 2, 3. And the last slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay. That's done, Mr. Rayu.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Ms. Lan, for the pictures. I believe the attendance sheet has been distributed now. If they're in the chat or in the Telegram group. Yes, they are
Not
being
accepting
distributed
the
right now.
responses,
So,
madam.
oh, all right. So I think I might notify the team for that. I think the committee will open up the sheet soon, but you guys can expect to answer them eventually. So yeah, right. So I think that would conclude for today's event. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Once again, congratulations to all the representatives and all the presentations. They were all great, and I loved hearing about all of your ideas and your very interesting discussion. It was all very nice. So yeah, don't forget to come back tomorrow where we'll have the closing, and we will also have the awarding for our best Delegates Award, which will be awarded tomorrow. So please make sure to come back. And yeah, it was great seeing all of you guys here today. And on behalf of the Bali International Student Festival Committee, we would like to say thank you very much for everyone. And yeah, have a nice day. You guys may leave the Zoom room now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See you
Bye.
tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
good day.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you so much.
Much.
Thank you, everybody.
Guys.
Bye bye.
you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
I'm looking for
Thank you,
certain.
everyone.
Goodbye to you.
Thank you, everybody.
What is that?
All right, bye, guys. Thank you, everyone. See you guys tomorrow.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And I enjoyed
Thank
it
you,
a lot.
everyone. Bye, guys. See you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you guys again.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Danke, danke.
Danke. Bitteschön. That's why I'm in Indonesia. Yes. In Indonesia.
I think there's still a few people left. You guys can leave the Zoom room now, guys. We're gonna see you guys tomorrow. Okay, see you guys. Udah semua belum sih?
Belum.
Udah kayaknya.
Udah. Belum. Udah. Gak tahu. Udah ya? Yay!
Udah. Udah.
Guys, aku boleh izin nggak Eva?
Alah, alasan.
Aku lapar kakak, ya Allah.
Semangat guys, semangat.
Ini make sure biar cepet yo. Aku tahu pasti kita bakal lapar kok. Oke. Biasa ya teman-teman, kita mulai dulu. Pertama yang aku minta di grup tadi itu udah ituin belum, kayak yang bentar aku lupa catatannya apa aja, yang kayak best delegate dan kawan-kawannya. Bentar. Ada yang bisa ngepin ke bawah guys? Nah, oke. Mana ya catatan tadi pagi, lupa tadi. Nah ini nih. Ini cukup ini doang. Pertama teman-teman udah dapat belum yang tadi delegasinya itu siapa? Pertama itu. Terus yang kedua video sama screenshot dan kawan-kawannya teman-teman taruh mana gitu yang nanti bakalan diakses sama tim media. Terus yang ketiga ya sama juga notulensi. Terus yang keempat kayak mungkin ada keresahan atau kekurangan di grup teman-teman, silakan diomongin juga biar nanti buat improvisasi kita bersama gitu untuk next eventnya. Itu doang sih, 4 itu doang. Pertama delegasinya siapa yang dapat, terus yang kedua video screenshot dan kawan-kawan sama notulensi itu ditaruh di mana sama teman-teman gitu. Terus yang ketiga apalagi tadi lupa, ya yang masalah tantangan itu, tantangan atau
Recordnya di stop dulu deh.
kurangan. Oh iya.